Thanks for joining us. My name is Daryl. First up, Bloomberg reporting that Ghana will receive $1 billion credit from some international banks for budget purposes, as well as boost the Bank of Ghana's reserves as the country seeks to cut its fiscal deficit and stabilize the city. We've got more to show you. The international banks are Standard Bank, Standard Chartered PLC, and Merchant Bank, Rand Merchant Bank. The report said the country raised $750 million through syndicated loans with the participation of about 8 African and European banks and $250 million from multilateral lenders. Now, though these funds will come in timely to address the imbalances within the economy, the country's debt is expected to reach 400 billion cedis soon. Now, Bloomberg also said Ghana will consider the second tranche of $1 billion in the latter part of the year after the mid-year review of the budget. So let's discuss this. Joining me is partner with accounting and auditing firm Deloitte Ghana, Yao Latte. Great to have you on the program, Yao. The capital market finds us too risky, so we have to borrow from international banks. Our debt is going up, but we need the money too. So help our audience understand what kind of challenge we are in and why we need this money.
Okay, thank you very much, Daryl. So it's important for us to note that this initiative or this plan is part of government programs indicated in the 2022 budget. Government had planned to do some borrowing from or loan syndication from local and international banks. And this was there to support the initiative or some of the programs that government intends to embark on. And the challenge we currently have is that given our economic challenges, we are not able to go to the international market, or even if you go to the international market to borrow, it's going to be expensive. Government is using other sources of getting funds, and this is just one of those sources outlined in the budget. I think the key question for us to government is to understand, one, what is the purpose of these loans, or what we are going to use them for. The problem we've had in the past is that we keep accumulating debt, and we ask ourselves the question, what we have used the debt for. Secondly, how much interest are we paying, or are you going to be paying on these loans or guarantees? Given our current situation and the recent downgrade by international rating agencies, we are not considered to be credit-worthy generally in the international market. And so if you borrow at this time, you are likely to pay at a relatively higher interest rate or higher coupon as you would have if things were normal or if our situation had improved. So how much are you going to be paying on this debt? And then lastly, if you're going to use the money to shore up our reserve, it's a step in the right direction given the depreciating local currency. But on the other hand, if these loans are going to be serviced in future with foreign currency, then there's the risk that when the local currency depreciates further, we are going to be paying more using our local currency if we service them in future and the local currency depreciates. So I would advise government that these loan facilities should come in and we should use some of it to manage the depreciating local currency. If you manage the depreciating local currency, you will manage the rising debt levels, because part of the reason for our rising debt level has been our depreciating local currency. And the external component of our debt is rising, and the CD component of our debt is also rising because our currency is depreciating. And because some of these loans or debts are denominated in foreign currency, if the local currency depreciates, the debt level also increases. As we speak, our debt level is about 78% of GDP. IMF has projected that if we don't manage things well, or we do not change the run rate or the rate at which we are going, you end the year at about 84.6% of GDP. That is unsustainable level. And so we would have to look at how we are managing some of these debts going forward.
And so we also understand that one of the reasons government is doing this is to also bring some stability to the local currency. And so my question then is, to what extent is this going to help us tackle the imbalances within the economy, do you think, as government hopes to cut down on the fiscal deficit and stabilize the city? We also understand we are going to receive these monies in tranches and not at a go.
Excellent. So I think that is the part that I think is commendable. if we are going to use significant portion of this to manage our local currency depreciating issues and also increase our reserve, that would be helpful. Mind you, the inflation that we are currently experiencing is significantly driven by imported inflation. For the first time in so many years, imported inflation is higher than local inflation. And the reason why we are having imported inflation is that our currency has depreciated, and so the cost of things that are imported are becoming a lot more expensive. And so if the cedi depreciates, your imported inflation is going to increase significantly. We are currently over 23%. And other people are projecting that in your situation, you are likely to get about 40%. So if we do not manage the depreciating local currency, we will struggle to manage inflation. So part of managing our local currency or managing the cedi also helps to deal with inflation in the long term. So as we are dealing with our rising debt levels, we also use our management of local currency to deal with inflation as well. And I think this is a step in the right direction. If and only if we are going to use significant portion of this facility to manage our debt or manage our local currency.
And another story we have our eye on this afternoon is the Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kumah, hinting that government may sign up to an International Monetary Fund program if ongoing homegrown policies fail to bring needed economic stability and restore investor confidence. I want you to listen to him speak with my colleague, George Rafi, last week.
Clear the air that Ghana is against the fund. We haven't said that. We just believe that we should try what we believe should work. And if it doesn't work, we have always worked with the IMF. And even the last time when they were giving SDRs, Ghana got $1 billion from the fund. And so we are not enemies. We continue to work with them.
If it's necessary, you would do it when your programs doesn't work?
Yes, if it's necessary, if our programs fail us and we are not able to get the confidence and the resource and the fiscal space discipline which we have to impose upon ourselves,
we do it.
Then you don't have a choice.
And government appears to be striking a different tone from we'll never go back to the IMF II. It may be a possibility. What do you judge from the comments of the Deputy Finance Minister?
So I think we should move away from just considering the IMF and give it a much more serious consideration now. Now more than ever, we have to give the IMF program a serious consideration. And the reason I say that is because of what history is telling us. So in 2000, we had accumulated debt so much that it was so difficult to get fiscal space to spend on social infrastructure or mass social activities. So in 2001, we opted for highly indebted poor country initiative. At that time, we had debt of about $4 billion. After the completion point of the CAPEX, our debt reduced by less than or under $1 billion. Today, our debt has increased by 7,000% from $1 billion when we opted out of CAPEX or we reached completion point of CAPEX to $54 billion. So from $1 billion to $54 billion. That is a significant increase. And our debt GDP ratio at the point we reached completion point of CAPEX was 25%. Today, our debt GDP is almost 80%. So the fundamentals or the factors here that we have on the table are such that we must give it a serious consideration. And the reason we are saying this is not only because of these economic indicators, but over and above that, government should appreciate that the problems that we are facing, a lot of it are external. Government, at the time that they said they would not go to the IMF, did not know that there was going to be a Russia and Ukraine war. At the time, the government did not know that there was going to be COVID. And so if external factors have come and exacerbated the economic situation, I think we must give going to IMF a much more serious consideration than just saying that we are considering it or when our policies fail. We should give it much more serious consideration because the external factors are making things get out of control. And therefore, if IMF will bring credibility and will help us enhance economic management, we will do it.
Well, he seems to have finished. Yeah, I was just going to say he seems to have confidence in the homegrown policies that they have come up with.
Well, I think we have tried them over the years, and we seem not to be getting out of the problem that we find ourselves. So we have been downgraded by the international rating agencies. If all these policies that we are trying to implement are beginning to have some positive impact, we would have some of these downgrade reversed. Unfortunately, that is not happening. And I'll give you a very good example. That Zambia has gotten a IMF staff approval to sign on to their program. And what that program is going to do is to give Zambia fiscal space. It's also going to force Zambia to pass what we call Loans and Guarantees Act, which is going to give the public in Zambia opportunity to scrutinize every dollar that's borrowed by the Zambian government. We think that if such policies are introduced through an IMF extended credit facility or an IMF program, it will help us manage our debt levels, because our debt has increased by 7,000% from 2006 to date. And today we ask successive governments what the monies have been used for. And sometimes the answers you get are not convincing enough. And therefore, if you are right now in the Zambia situation where the public is supposed to be monitoring debt accumulation, then IMF coming in is going to help us and is going to help us manage our debt going forward.
All right, Yaolate, always great to speak with you. I appreciate your time. His partner at Deloitte Ghana, appreciate your time, Yao. Well, let's move on now. Interest rates continue to soar on the yield curve, going up by a little above 1% to hit 23.6% plus. That's according to results of the weekly auctioning of treasury bills by the Bank of Ghana. However, government could not achieve 100% subscription of the sale of the short-term financial instruments as liquidity remained tight. Head of trading at Republic Securities, Patrick Edem-Agama, joins us with an update. So good to have you, Edem. Last 2 weeks, it looked promising when government met its target, but it was not the case this time around. What's happening?
Well, good afternoon, Daryl. So in the auction, we saw that government raised about 1.1 billion against a target of 1.4 billion, falling short of 309.3 million Ghana cedis. Despite the fact that interest was low from investors, a number of bids were rejected due to the overly high rates investors were quoting because they benchmark their rates to the new inflation. So because of that, the target was not reached. For the 91-day, we saw that 821.6 million bids were tendered in, but 759.7 million were accepted, and it cleared at 23.7%. The yields on the 182-day and the 364-day inched up by 99 basis points and 239 basis points to clear at 25.4 and to 26.9 respectively. If you also look at it, you see that interest rates that were accepted were as high as 24.4 for the 91-day treasury bill, were as high as 25.98 for the 182-day, and then to 27.75 for the 364-day bill. It's an indicating, it's a clear indication of where investors' appetite is now.
And so what should we expect this week with regards to the treasury bills auctioning?
Well, for this week, we should expect government to raise, they're actually targeting to raise about 1.3 billion Ghana cedis on the 91-day and 182-day bill. With increasing appetite for high yields by investors, we are eager to see how their control measure will hold for this week.
All right, let's turn to the stock market. Some news we are receiving that the stock market hit record high for values traded in May. What contributed to this, and what does this signal really?
Well, for the stock market, these hikes in trading volumes and trading values were primarily due to the trade seen in MTN in May. MTN's localization drive can be a reason for this particular hike in the numbers. MTN also was in the spotlight because of e-levy. So we expected investors to show more interest in it, whilst others were also losing interest. So we saw some trades. Also, for a long time, MTN is now trading below 1 cedi. So that also became a good sign for some investors, and they showed interest, and they are still trading heavily in the stock. In the month of May as well, we saw that MTN announced a final dividend of 0.085. So that particular also sent some signal in the market. That particular news sent some signal in the market, and that attracted investors to MTN.
Okay, so what's our look ahead for this week? Where should we put our monies? People may be wondering.
Well, this week, most of the dividend stocks or the companies that announce dividends are having their qualifying date closed this week. So people looking for dividends can target those companies and then go in for them. We're expecting MTN to pay dividends this week around 16th of June. So investors who want to reinvest in MTN can also look at that as well.
And I just want to bring up the subject of Access Bank, because this week is also looking positive for them as well. Isn't it the case?
Yes, it's the case. But if you look on the market, you see that bids, investors are bidding as high as 2.5 and even trying to go higher for Access Bank. But supply is really, really dry on the market for that stock. It looks like because they've not paid dividends in a number of years, investors are holding on to the stock and awaiting the 79 peso dividends. So it's not really trading, although any trade expected could increase the price of Access Bank.
All right, Patrick Agama, always a pleasure to talk to you, head of trading at Republic Securities. Thanks for the update. Let's tackle inflation matters. The managing director of Ecobank Ghana, Daniel Saki, has expressed optimism that measures outlined by the Bank of Ghana to stabilize inflation rates will soon help reduce prices of goods and services. According to him, local banks are ready to support the numerous initiatives by government aimed at creating jobs. Speaking at the bank's annual general meeting, Mr. Saki was upbeat inflation rate will soon respond to the monetary measures announced by the Bank of Ghana.
We are aware of the measures being implemented by government to deal with the increasing inflationary pressures, and are supportive of these measures. We are aware of the adverse impact of these on the macroeconomic environment and the headwinds that they pose. While we are optimistic of a recovery in the medium to long term, in the near term, we are committed to working with our clients to support them to navigate this period. We will continue to work to deepen our relationship with our customers and provide them the needed support to grow their businesses. Our performance for the first quarter of the year 2022 has been encouraging, and we expect the growth trend to remain positive, but are mindful of the headwinds due to the current inflationary pressures and supply chain disruptions. Finally, let me add that we are committed to delivering value to all our stakeholders.
Consumer spending on dairy products is expected to become the fastest growing in the food and non-alcoholic beverage category this year. This will be followed by bread, rice, and cereals. According to Fish Solutions, total household spending in Ghana for this year is estimated at a little above 329 billion cedis. Charles Nixon-Yeboah has more.
Expenditure on dairy products such as milk will grow at an annual average of 20%. It, however, accounts for only 3.7% of total food spending. Fish Solutions said Ghanaians spend predominantly on fish and fish products, as well as bread, rice, and cereals, which collectively account for around 70% of total food spending. But the growing expenditure in dairy products will not change over the medium term. It attributes the trend to both westernization and greater formalization of the Ghanaian food sector. Meanwhile, total household spending for this year is estimated at a little above 329 billion cedis and will grow by an annual average of 13.4% over the next 5 years. This will bring total household spending to 617.5 billion cedis, approximately $69.2 billion by 2026.
All right, and still on the matter of inflation, the Association of Bread Bakers in the Ashanti region is calling on government to reduce taxes on baking ingredients, especially wheat flour. According to the association, this will help reduce the cost of bread across the country. Members say prices of bread will continue to shoot up if the situation is not resolved. Love FM's Abdul Latif Awal spoke to some bakery owners in Kumasi.
Currently, about 75% of wheat flour is used to make bread, while the remaining 25% is used for cakes and other pastries. Prices of wheat flour have been revised upward for 3 consecutive times since the start of the year, once before Russia invaded Ukraine and twice after. Chairperson of the association wants the government to reduce taxes on baking ingredients. Bedu is leader of bread bakers in Ashanti region.
We have some of the ladies who come to collect the bread, and then they also give it to the final seller. So, for example, if I make the bread and I give it to them, ACDs, she also come and take it and give it to the final seller at ACDs 70 pesos, and then the final seller will also sell at 10 cedis. It is going up, but there's nothing they can also do. That is why we are also suggesting that since the dollar is going up, and we can't do anything about dollar going up, if they can just reduce the price of the transaction, the government can reduce it so that currently, so we can also buy until the time that things will stabilize, because we all know that if we pay the tax, it's then that they can also work on the country.
Some bakery owners are also feeling the heat of the price increase in baking ingredients.
Every month there is an increment, which is not helping us. It's reducing our capital. A flour which was buying at 245,000 beginning of this year is now selling at 445,000, which is almost times 2. The government can reduce, to consider their tax for them, either to reduce it a bit for them so that they can also reduce the price for us a bit.
Abdul Latif Awal's report read to you.
All right, you're watching The Marketplace. Let's turn to some story to do with Green Ghana Day, which was marked last Friday. Now, a green environment is considered one of the surest ways of mitigating the severe impact of global warming. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, as a corporate citizen, has indicated its commitment to contributing its quota to green and sustainable environment, which supports life. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority held a Health and Safety Environment Day, and our correspondent from there, Kwame Yanka, sent us this report.
Dealing with global warming has gone beyond just government, as organizations have taken keen interest. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority's approach flows seamlessly into the greening agenda of the country with the pledge to plant 1,000 seedlings. Although rain had a better part of the program, it however did not deter GPHA staff, invited guests, and other stakeholders from planting the symbolic seedlings. Director General of Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Michael Logoji, says tree planting has become even more relevant to help tackle the ever-threatening phenomenon of global warming.
We need trees for shade. We need trees to help us ensure that we contain global warming and its negative effects. That greening project, therefore, needs commendation as an initiative by Ghana's government, and we are proud as Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority to be associated with it. Today is marking a major milestone in Tama where 1,000 trees are to be planted as part of this project within the main harbour area. A similar project is being planned for Takoradi and Port as well. And we are all looking forward to a successful one. We are grateful to our partners, the non-governmental organization, which is called Coastal Conservancy Organization, who are partners with us to plant these trees and also nurture them.
Meanwhile, Deputy Transport Minister Frederick Obenadom was happy the project was in sync with government's Green Ghana project. According to him, for 2022, government targets planting of 20 million trees and asks that deliberate efforts must be made to ensure that 90 million of the trees survive.
Last year, the government rallied the generality of the Ghanaian people for the 2021 Green Ghana project, which saw the planting of 7 million trees across the country, which was even targeted at 5 million. It's interesting to note here today that out of the 7 million trees that were planted, 6.3 million has survived. This year, the target is 20 million trees. And as we plant the trees, we must all focus our agenda also on making sure that the trees we plant grows and grow very well, so that next time if we meet here, we shall also be able to say that out of the 20 million trees we planted, we are at least able to see 19 million. I think that will be a very good thing to see.
Stakeholders, including importers and exporters, security agencies, among other players in the port community, were present to support the initiative.
They brave the rains to plant trees. That's the marketplace. Thanks for watching, everyone. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl. Thanks for watching.